So, it's the year 2017. Vine got shut down, Jake Paul just released the worst song in YouTube history, and OK KO Let's Be Heroes first aired on Cartoon Network. 2 years later, the show was cut short.
No! Fuck! Shit! Cunt! Bull!
OK KO Let's Be Heroes is an action-packed cartoon about a young boy named KO aspiring to become the world's greatest hero. By working at a convenience store. I promise you this sounds way more epic than I'm making it out to be, but this convenience store has everything a hero could want. Power-ups, lightning nachos, a sword, bombs, a candy bar that makes you grow big, and you could even get a card that shows you your stats. All located in Lakewood Plaza Turbo, a shopping plaza filled with all kinds of heroes, and with KO's two best friends, Rad and Enid, they'll take on anything that comes to them. Because across the plaza lies an evil robot factory that sells supplies to all the supervillains, parallel to Gar's bodega, selling supplies to all the superheroes. And every time they come to attack, our hero steps in and saves the day defending the plaza, and it's all created by this man, Ian Jones Cordy, who is the husband of Rebecca Sugar, creator of Steven Universe, since he also worked on the show, did some animation work for One Piece, drew this, and has appeared in Little Witch Academia, which explains the references in the show. And lastly, he is also the grandson of the flag designer of Ghana. I just wanted to mention this because I know this is something that means a lot to him. So, what makes this cartoon so special? The entire world of OK KO is this video game anime inspired world with epic fight scenes, wacky yet charming art and animation, and so many characters with unique designs. There's a magic skeleton who looks like Papyrus, a guy with skill issues, an old man, a strawberry, a broccoli who eats his own kind, a cute bunny, a cute gay couple, a cool cyborg lesbian from the future, a wizard who looks like a garden gnome, and then there's the super hot teacher, the super hot vampire MILF, the super hot— okay, I'm getting a lot ahead of myself here. It makes sense that this show would take place in a shopping plaza, since naturally, you'll encounter different types of people, similar to how City also focuses on many different types of people, since it's a city. And the manga/anime is one of my favorites.
Cheeseburger.
Funny thing about this plaza is that this right here reminds me of that time when my mom used to take me to Taekwondo classes. Except the plaza has 2 stories, with a small Vietnamese mall nearby. And outside the plaza, there are places like the estates, the public school, the biggest superhero organization point, Neo Riot City, the neutral territory, other planets to explore, and then there's the literal danger zone, which the name itself is self-explanatory. I'm glad there's a 5-episode arc dedicated to this superhero academy, and it makes the world of OK KO feel much larger than a plaza. Literally the entire world of OK KO is the type of world people like me could come up with, because we're all nerds here. Funny since my entire brand is being a nerd. So when it comes to influences on the show, I can tell that Ian JQ and the entire crew are a bunch of fucking nerds. This show has all kinds of references you can think of. We got video games references, anime references, other Cartoon Network references. This is literally the Henry Stickmin levels of references, but in a TV show. And we even have nu metal references. Did you guys know that the lead singer of Korn is voicing this character? I have a full section about this episode if you guys want to check it out. I would also like to mention the crossover episodes, like the crossover Nexus. Should be pretty obvious why everyone loved the episode, even though it was originally supposed to be 22 minutes long. Captain Planet, Ghoul School. I've never seen it though. And Sonic the Hedgehog. Seeing crossovers like these is just like that time when Cartoon Network City existed. But the fact that OK KO literally did a crossover with Sonic, I just have a feeling that most of you Sonic fans were hyped about it. In fact, I know of one Sonic fan who only watches OK KO for the Sonic episode.
Yeah, I've only seen the OK KO Sonic crossover episode. What did I think? Hey, it's pretty fun. For starters, while I didn't know anything about KO going in, you get the general gist of what the kid is all about. He's a naive, energetic go-getter type. He thinks Sonic is the absolute shit, and I mean, Who could blame him? If I met Sonic, I'm sure I'd be feeling the same way. I also really like the art style the show has. It's colorful and the line art has a unique flair to it. The animation, while nothing absolutely groundbreaking, is really pleasant. But focusing on the Sonic aspects of this episode, yeah, it's really cool. The whole episode just feels like an excuse to quickfire a bunch of Sonic references, and while some could view it as obnoxious, I thought it was fun. The only thing I'm not a fan of is Sonic himself. He wouldn't really act how he does in this episode. Sonic is an egotistical bastard here. Sure, KO is glazing him the entire time, but I'm sure Sonic gets that all the time. He's a cool guy, but I don't think he'd ever let it get to his head. Besides, maybe Sonic Boom. He even shuts out Tails for KO, which builds up to the climax of the episode where Sonic explains how no one could replace Tails, but I don't buy it. Sonic isn't an idiot. It's almost written as if Sonic wasn't aware he was being a dick to Tails, which is a complete arsepull. But all in all, for one episode crossover event, it's pretty fun. I don't think they would have had enough time to tell a more intricate story in 11 minutes, and I mean, why would they? It's just passionate cartoon fun. I'm sure the creator enjoyed it because as far as I'm aware, he's a pretty big Sonic fan, and from what I've heard, you can spot that influence throughout the show, even beyond this crossover episode. Lord Boxman being one of the ones I know is a homage to Eggman. But that's all the time I have. I've got to get back to slaving away on my animated series. It's going to take another 30 years to get off the ground. See ya.
Thank you, Piggo. I would also like to add that I do wish I could see both Tails and Dendy interacting with each other, and I'm also kind of disappointed that OK KO didn't include this creature. But even so, my only experience with Sonic was playing these games, watched all of Sonic X, and most of Sonic Boom, and the movies. Ironically, Sonic Heroes was the first video game I think I ever played. And moving on to OK KO being inspired by Dragon Ball. I've never actually watched the anime before, since I'm more of a One Piece fan, and the background music you're listening to right now is from the Toho fan anime. Yes, I've played a lot of Toho, but I think it's safe to say that even a Dragon Ball fan can still enjoy the show without knowing OK KO. Anyways, the reason I'm saying all of this is to make a point that you don't necessarily have to be a Dragon Ball or Sonic fan to enjoy the show. In fact, you don't even have to know any of the references since the show is enjoyable all on its own. Fun fact if you guys want to know, I once had this character as my Steam profile picture during my time playing on the TF2 community servers before changing it to 1-1 from Infinity Train. That's how much I loved the show back in middle school. Such good times. Not only is OK KO an action cartoon, but it is also a comedy. Almost every moment, I find myself smiling and chuckling at the wackiness going around. You may wonder why these expressions are heavily exaggerated, and why these characters may go off model at certain moments. Well, firstly, this is a cartoon, and secondly, that's because it made the crew laugh while making it. Just like how Senior Pello makes his animations, where if certain parts make him laugh, he keeps them there. Still waiting for the Toho 7 animation though. Sure, they may be off-putting to some of you, but to me, these wacky moments are what makes this show very charming. The end credits says it all.
It's only magic. Isn't it amazing when you know? Every second that you see is 24 connected pieces. Thank you for coming, thank you for staying, thank you for watching the show.
And if you want to take a look at these concept art and model sheets, you can check out the official Tumblr blog for your viewing pleasure. I've also noticed how the characters say,
I'm sorry about everything.
like they're Canadian, especially when they say,
Videos game.
I can see why ENJQ made this decision.
The characters were supposed to say like, oh, you like video games. But I don't know, it just sounded so, something about it sounded like kind of like hacky and corny, you know?
Also, they predicted Skibbity Toilet.
Oh, skibbity blobbity boo!
But despite all of the goofiness, you also get to learn valuable lessons along the way.
Never forget that the chance to redeem yourself will always come. I'll, just, put this, here?
Watching OK KO made me realize that I don't think there will ever be another cartoon like this. This show was so good, Carl Jacobs from Mr. Beast and the Dream SMP has a poster of it. I'm only mentioning this because for some reason I still remember this. I haven't cared about this show for a long time after it ended, until I decided to rewatch it again, that I realized, oh yeah, I actually remembered loving this show back in middle school. I remember thinking about this show every time I took a test in 8th grade. And it's disheartening to see that the show only ran for 2 years because of how horribly the show was treated. This show could have been a lot more if it ran longer, exploring every aspect of OK KO that has never been explored before. I made a video a year ago talking about what I loved about We Bare Bears and what I would have loved to see that has never been explored before. And now I'm making this video to give my 2 cents on what makes OK KO a great show and stuff I would have loved to see. Most of you may not view this show as a genuine masterpiece, but that's alright, because I view this show as a genuine love letter to all of our favorite pieces of media growing up. And so, I'm confident to say that this is the greatest cartoon that's gone too soon. "2013 was the release of the OK KO pilot. A simple pilot that would perfectly show what the main characters are like and sets up what each episode would be like, even though the villains barely had any screen time.
I just wanna know why.
The premise of OK KO was inspired by Ian JQ's childhood, of that time when he used to tag along with his mother at her job, and when he used to work at a grocery store. And the plaza itself is based on Dobin Center, a shopping mall in Columbia, Maryland, where Ian JQ grew up. And it should be obvious that the pilot's art style looks a lot different than the final version. It doesn't feel like the OK KO we all know and love. And honestly, watching the pilot now looks very weird. What the fuck is this? Why does their nose look like that? As much as I appreciate the hard work put into the pilot, I'm glad that the crew went for this art style instead, because I really love how the art style is drawn with pencil as a line art, since the show was animated in pencil.
Because the show is hand animated, we work with the animation studio really closely and all the designers. We've given them this edict to keep the drawings in pencil. So they kind of have this like rough, sketchy sort of outline to them. So there's like a little noise and a little like grit to all of the lines. Like it doesn't feel super polished and super smooth. And I think that's something that I really learned from Yoshi's Island, like studying the aesthetic style of that game.
It gives the crew so much freedom to do whatever they want. And without the current art style, we wouldn't have these wacky moments that made the show charming in the first place. And I would not be making this video if they actually did keep this art style. So I'm thankful they got rid of those noodle noses in the most humorous way possible. Something I've noticed while watching the official show is that I love how the art style has gradually improved throughout the 3 seasons, especially the slight color change. Well, actually, I did notice some major changes. In addition to that, we even have the Minisodes before the actual show came out. And even though I love this art style, I also love how each Minisode are animated in different animation styles. It makes it very fun to watch, and we also get to know more about our main characters that way. My favorite animation style has to be the Minisode about Carol, Rat's Van, mainly the ones that are animated by the same exact animation studio that animated Eizouken, the Scott Pilgrim anime, and Don Da Don. There's also a mobile game after the pilot, but sadly it's not available anymore. And then there's Let's Play Heroes, which is also not available anymore. Fuck, I wish I could have played these games much sooner. I was a broke middle schooler back then, who only had to buy these games. And now that the actual show came out, you'd be surprised to learn that the intro is storyboarded by the co-founder of Studio Trigger, the same studio that animated Kill la Kill, Little Witch Academia, and Cyberpunk Edgerunners. I mean, seeing these expressions does kinda make sense though. And that's not all. What if I were to tell you that years before Ian JQ started working in the animation industry, he created this webcomic called RPG World? I found this out while randomly scrolling through the wiki to look for more crossovers I might have missed, and randomly found out about it, and apparently it also won an award. So upon reading the webcomic for the first time, I ended up spending 3 days reading through all 522 panels. I don't think I can remember the last time I got so invested in a story like this. Last year was Don, and now it's RPG World. So the story of RPG World follows an unnamed hero who is on a journey wanting to vanquish all the evil and save the world. But he can't do it alone, because along the way, he meets new friends who would accompany him on his quest. Even though their goals are unclear, but with good hearts. Reading through the webcomic, you can see that it's kinda like a parody of Final Fantasy, since it pokes fun at every RPG trope in the most entertaining way possible. But it's more than that the more you read it, especially since I'm not too familiar with JRPGs, because I've never played a single Final Fantasy game. I've only played a lot of Pokemon and Yokai Watch. Although I'm very much interested in playing Chrono Trigger. The art style is a lot different than both the OK KO pilot and the official show combined, and you can see ENJQ progressively improving his art from the beginning to the end. Unfortunately, after 5 years, the webcomic would come to an abrupt end, as ENJQ would move on to something bigger, like going to art school and working in the animation industry, and it just so happens that the webcomic would be brought back in the form of an OK KO episode to further demonstrate that I did in fact read the entire webcomic. Gao Goering is a massive simp for this girl, that he fumbled his ex-girlfriend just for her, and yet he forgot about that in the actual episode.
We've been fighting each other so long, I forgot why we even started.
Anyways, sadly this episode is canonically the last we'll ever see of RPG World, since the original webcomic never finished its story. But luckily there exists a fan revival with the purpose of finishing the original story, which I'll put a link to it if you guys want to check it out. So I'm not gonna go too in-depth into the webcomic, because I would highly encourage you guys to read it for yourselves. You know, now that I think about it, this would be a great chance for ENJQ to turn his old webcomic into an actual series. Please, I'm sure a lot of people would love it. Anyways, there's also Knock Force, which ENJQ and this other guy created. I just thought it'd be worth mentioning that. Alright, I've dragged this far enough, let's get on to the main show. The first episode of OK KO is a great introduction to KO's journey, since he's the main star of the show. This is KO, or Kyle Kincaid as ENJQ himself confirmed, is a 6 to 11-year-old boy who's an aspiring hero, youngest minimum wage slave determined to lock in, expert PAL card collector, and a mama's boy.
Why don't you go cry to your mommy?
KO is obsessed with becoming a hero, that any mention of heroes or slight heroic action gets him all riled up. To us, all the heroes he gets excited over are just regular people like us, since superpowers are already common in this world. I mean, after all, we are watching this show from the perspective of a kid looking up to superheroes, who's also smart enough to know how to use the internet, and somehow overlooked his boss dating his mother. Some say that he is based on Kid Goku, even though he resembles a kid version of Ryu with the personality of Gon and the naivety of Yotsuba. Again, I've never actually watched Dragon Ball, although I do find it interesting that KO was originally voiced by Kid Goku, but later changed voice actresses due to scheduling issues. Anyways, since KO dreams of becoming a hero, how exactly do you become one? This is a world full of superheroes, and his mother was once a famous hero, so it's natural that KO would want to become one too. But how do you know if you truly reach that goal? Do you have to be the strongest person in the world to become a hero, or do you just have to help people? Is popularity the answer to heroism? Maybe joining Point, the biggest superhero organization, or their academy will instantly make you a hero, or do you have to be at a certain level to be considered a hero? All these questions are up to our interpretations as we see other characters forging their own path to becoming a hero. I imagine this is like trying to define what truly makes a Pokemon master until Ash Ketchum defines one for himself.
The thing is, I want to be friends with all of the Pokemon in the world. That's what it means to be a Pokemon master.
Anyways, KO wanted to become a hero so bad that he thinks buying supplies from Gar's Bodega would be enough to make him a hero, but failed miserably.
I am Daryl, and I've come to destroy!
Witness the power of a true hero!
Snap out of it! Come on, kid! Kid, come on!
happened?
Jeez, where do I start with this? I recorded the whole thing if you want to check it out.
I can't believe it.
I'm starting to think that some of these products are just for people who don't have superpowers and self-defense. And some of these products can make their powers even deadlier than before. Anyways, he even tried breaking into an evil robot factory just to gain respect from the other heroes.
You're not a nuisance? We like having you around!
This comes to show how far KO is willing to go to be acknowledged as a hero. So the moment he befriends Red and Enid and puts on the vest is truly the start of KO's journey. Again, he's just working at a convenience store. From this point on, most of the episodes are just KO and his friends going on wacky adventures, goofing off in the workplace, and learning more about the world and the other characters. Maybe they're having a big sale, maybe they're participating in the Olympics, or a film festival, maybe they're exploring a dungeon under the store, or maybe they're canonically turning into furries, who knows. Although admittedly, the first half of season 1 is a bit jarring to get into, even with the intended order, but I promise you the show gets better the more you watch it. And you know it's crazy that one of the filler episodes would turn out to be important later on. But even with the filler episodes, we're still following KO's hero journey of him working at a 9-to-5 job. To an average person, this may seem like a mundane, boring job, like how Red and Enid views it, unless they're fighting evil robots.
I need a robot to fight.
And as someone who unfortunately used to work in fast food, I get how it feels to work minimum wage, because I hated it. But to KO, he sees this as an opportunity to work alongside his idols and learn what it takes to be a hero. He was even excited when his boss asked him to watch the entire store all by himself, which makes you wonder if he's supposed to be working at his age, because even though he's already getting paid and getting some job experience at a young age, it is a bit unusual for a kid like KO to enjoy working 9-to-5.
KO, you do not want to spend your days looking at all this.
Yeah, I do. I can help. I can do anything.
And fighting robots every day. Even his good friend Dendy knows what's up.
But it seems the one thing I do not understand is how he does this every day.
But I guess in this world, as long as KO is happy, this is like when Chiyo-chan got a job at a fast food restaurant. The thing KO loves the most about his job is that he gets to help as many people as possible. Using his problem-solving skills, he helped both Red and Enid grow as characters, helped other characters with their problems, and saved a disastrous party. It's like whenever KO is around, all the characters just change themselves for the better. It's even more exciting for him when he finally levels up and gets to go on hero missions with his friends. You can tell that he values his friends so much that he would invite them onto his personal channel, making these moments unforgettable. Also, we need him and Go-Go to interact with each other. However, despite all the optimism KO has, he's still a naive kid who is prone to being taken advantage of.
Aw, thanks for the compliment.
Dude, KO, you're not getting complimented.
I've noticed that throughout the entire show, you rarely see him hang out with other kids his age. Like, out of the 112 episodes, there is only one episode where KO actively hangs out with the other kids, 3 episodes taking place in KO's school, and 22 episodes where KO actively hangs out with Dendy. Dendy is the only kid who's actively friends with KO, and she understands his desire to become a hero. So I'm assuming he doesn't hang around with the other kids, either because they're not interested in superheroes, or he would rather hang around with heroes who are much older than him.
He's so cool because he's older than me.
You have to wonder what his life is like outside of his workplace.
No one in my neighborhood really gets me. Well, except maybe my mom. But today at Gar's, I made my first 2 friends. My co-workers, Rad and Enid, are so cool.
Because even before he got the job, he didn't seem to have anyone to talk to about superheroes.
I just don't have a big guy around to ask this stuff about.
Because, you know, daddy issues.
I don't have a dad.
Hey,
It's these small pieces of dialogues that help us have a deeper understanding of him.
A daddy? A daddy? Another daddy? And the rest of these are all daddies.
And I'm saying this as someone who grew up with a single mother. Whenever he hangs around with heroes older than him, he assumes that they are these perfect beings that can do no wrong. But little does he know, Rad and Enid are still teenagers trying to navigate through life like any other Gen Zers.
Rad and Enid are kind of just shitty teens. Like, they're not really great people. They're kind of just jerks to themselves and each other. And they would probably be pretty miserable if they didn't have a kid around who thought that they were the greatest, most important people of all time, even though they are kind of scrubs. KO being there sort of lets these characters be a little more vulnerable, and they grow a lot because they have him around.
And Mr. Gar is proof that even the greatest heroes have weaknesses. And more to it, this is KO's biggest idol, who is the sole reason KO wanted to become a hero, only to find out he was a fake. That's because he idolizes heroes so much without knowing who they really are on the inside.
You really look up to Rad, huh? But you know, nobody's perfect, not even the people you look up to. You should try looking at Rad for who he really is, not for who you want him to be.
It's not just superheroes who have flaws. KO has one too. You can see throughout the entire show, KO is trying to prove that he is capable of becoming a hero, not wanting to be a nuisance to others. But because he feels like he's not being taken seriously, these negative thoughts of feeling powerless and all would end up growing an inner darkness deep inside him. This was first shown when he was desperately trying to prove that he is the strongest, and again when facing his boss's fear, until he would eventually meet this shadowy figure that he would help him unleash his true powers, transforming him into a dark manifestation of his negative emotions.
Turbo KO. TKO for short.
Inspired by that time, when ENJQ used to throw temper tantrums as a kid, TKO is KO's edgy alter ego, whom he'll transform into whenever he feels worthless or powerless, and only love can turn him back to normal. TKO shows no mercy when it comes to causing destruction, and even dismissing other people's kindness.
Cran it, wage slave.
Bruh. He enjoys causing trouble, hurting the people KO cares about, being angsty, and definitely the type of person to talk some shit online.
Get the fuck out of my room and play Minecraft!
And also enjoy listening to Limp Bizkit. Like, take a look at this poster. That's Korn, and that one is Slipknot. I can't tell if this poster is from Mudvayne or something. And that one is literally Linkin Park. I would know this because I listen to a lot of nu metal. Did you know Fred Durst was an I Saw the TV Glow? And obviously this poster isn't a nu metal band, but it's so obvious what band this poster is referring to. And lastly, does that bring me to Horizon? Dude, that's like one of my favorite non-nu metal bands. You know, this gives me an idea to make a playlist of all the songs TKO would listen to. Let me know what you guys think. Anyways, I'll still get to the nu metal episode. While the show is mainly about KO working at a convenience store and leveling up, it also has an overarching narrative of KO trying to understand TKO. He has tried to suppress and control him, appease his desires in hopes of him getting better, and borrow his powers in certain situations.
No takebacks.
And over time, it generally seemed like the two were getting along, like when they had to cooperate to fight a common foe. Again, I've never watched Dragon Ball and Supercharge a Giant Robot. Yeah, there aren't many episodes where the two actively work together, but unfortunately being stuck in KO's head was not enough for TKO to grow as a person, and KO would try to repress him further.
Welcome home, TKO.
OK KO is mostly defined by its humor, but it's also not afraid to get serious at times when progressing through the story. If I understand correctly, KO has this idea of being the perfect hero who can do no wrong, and TKO represents everything he doesn't want to be, which is why he tried to get rid of this problem instead of addressing it. So, punishing him into his subconscious would later backfire on him when TKO would build up his rage and take full control of KO. This is almost like when Mob lost control of his powers in the final arc of the anime and teamed up with shadowy figure to terrorize the world together, because to him, that's what it feels like to be powerful, so that no one will ever underestimate a kid like him.
I've got two family. He lets me do whatever I want.
He would even suck up all the glorbs, which are orbs of dense energy that can power up any hero or villain. Did I mention this earlier? And use them to drain everyone's powers. I think the idea of TKO evaporating everyone into oblivion would actually make him the scariest murderer in the entire show. Bro went around and fucking killed everyone on sight, especially shadowy figure, after realizing he's being manipulated. When KO found something buried deep inside himself and played a song to calm TKO's rage, it only took him so long to realize that TKO is also himself, but with flaws.
Even when I accepted you as part of me, I thought you were just this angry thing that got put in my mind by somebody else.
And understood that he shouldn't have neglected his negative emotions.
You're not just a part of me, TKO. You are me. And I'm you!
Thus, accepting himself and embracing his new form, and growing a sharp tooth as a sign of what he used to be. Although, what I do find disturbing is that TKO did not seem to show any remorse for killing everyone, even as the two fused together, but it's whatever. And then KO wished for everyone to live their best lives, and the President of the Universe brought everyone back to life. Yeah, you can tell I had a hard time writing this part of the script, because how do I generally get people who have never seen the show to understand what I'm trying to say? Whether you find these serious moments out of place from its usual comedic tone or the other way around is up to your interpretation, especially since the second last episode of the show is mostly a tournament episode that's leading up to TKO committing mass murder, like in Payday 2. But I do appreciate the crew's efforts to balance things out, because otherwise this show would just feel generic.
And the thing that was really interesting was, I, as a gag guy, was really worried, like, oh no, but if we do a more emotionally rich show with characters with depth, what of the gags? What of the jokes? Will it just be a dry show? And we realized that the more emotionally real the characters are, the more you can get away with doing wacky gags. And the show has no shortage of that.
And now the show has completely doubled in over itself and is more gag driven than even like those boards that we made in some ways.
But because we put forth the effort to, make an attempt to give you something to care about in any given episode, we can throw as many gags in as you want and you have something to grab onto.
I still have more to say about KO regarding the relationship between him and his biological dad, but I'll get to that later. I need to talk about his two best friends first. It would be nice if you guys could like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so I don't have to resort to making slop content. Anyways, now that you've learned who KO is as a character, what about KO's two best friends in the whole wide world, Rad and Enid? The relationship between KO and the two are akin to a younger sibling looking up to their older siblings. Rad being a strong but immature older brother whom KO will believe anything he says.
Did you know that Gar's Bodega is named after Mr. Gar, our boss?
No way!
And Enid being a lazy but mature older sister who KO tries to be as cool as her. And to quickly summarize the two, let's see what Dendy has to say about them.
Rad is pretending to be super macho, even though he's a big softie.
That's not true!
Or perhaps, is it how Enid acts super cool because she's internally struggling with her identity?
See, this is exactly why Dendy's my favorite character. So anyways, let's see what makes them so special. Radicles X, or Rad for short, is a buff alien dude who, for some reason, decided to skip leg day. But to make up for it, he has these super awesome psychic powers that he can just use at a whim. On his first day at Gar's Bodega, he learned that he didn't have to be ashamed of his powers.
Sometimes it's the things that we're ashamed of that are worth being proud of. That beam is a gem to be polished.
But unfortunately, that didn't stop him from being so boastful about himself. Bro claims to be so alpha, despite his pull-up form being fucking trash, bro. Actually, pull-ups are hard as fuck, so I get how it feels. He may act like this all he wants, but deep down, he's actually a kind, soft, sensitive guy who really loves kittens. And there are times he helped KO in certain situations.
Dude, KO, you're not getting complimented. You're getting zinged.
This comes to show that he's just afraid of showing his vulnerability.
Rad would never find that stuff cool. And even if he did, Rad wouldn't be ready to share those things about himself.
By the way, did you guys know that Rad and Enid used to date? Which is probably why KO likes to ship both of them. But the entire reason Rad was acting like a macho meathead was because of the influence from his two friends.
If I want to win this date, I gotta...
Be a huge jerk! She wants to see if you're man enough to make fun of her taste.
Listening to her? Complimenting her? Girls hate that stuff!
Really? But she looks happier now.
Look, your last shot at victory is to act like you don't care about her dreams.
That'll get her attention. Double down!
Double down! Double down! Double down! And I've doubled down on that strat ever since.
For reasons I don't know how to properly put into words, I fucking hate these two. I wish I could fucking strangle them. Like, look at them. They claim to be so cool when they look stupid as fuck. I don't think any looks maxing methods could save them. Also, Rad dated a robot once, and I have yet to see if these two pulled some bitches yet. Because I don't think I need to say anything about Mega Football Baby. His name speaks for itself.
Kittens is for babies.
Come on, man, we talked about this.
And Bell Beefer is literally at level 0. Who the fuck is he to talk about being cool? Bell Beefer? More like Bell Doofus, because from the look of his head, he doesn't seem to have a functioning brain. So upon realizing this, Rad regretted how he treated Enid.
Well, I never should have ruined that date.
What?
I acted like that because I thought it would impress you. But actually, I was just being a total butt.
Also, I just realized that this Cupid right here looks like a fucking Giga Chad. And it wasn't until near the end of Season 3 that he learned how to be open about his vulnerable side.
Listen, KO, seeing you act like me makes me feel terrible. It's great that you look up to me and stuff, but there's things about me you shouldn't look up to. I just can't stand the idea of those guys, or me, doing that to you too. I don't want you to go around making fun of things people like.
And you can thank KO for helping him be open about himself, even though he was trying to act like an alpha male earlier in that episode, which really made him look stupid as fuck. Anyways, before we move on, I recently found out that Ian JQ, who voices Rad, also voiced this guy from Neon White.
Beer time, beer time.
And then there's Enid, who is a super awesome ninja, and a witch, and a mime, and the best DJ the Plaza has to offer. Of all the main trio in the show, she's actually the one I like the most, mainly because of how she doesn't give a fuck about everything, like ignoring all the customers whenever she wants, because they suck, doesn't mind people getting physically hurt for comedy, and just being real about everything.
Reminds you of your wasted youth?
Dude, stop!
She reminds me a lot of Julie Powers and April Ludgate, except Enid's not voiced by Aubrey Plaza, but by Ashley Birch instead. And Enid is so cool, she doesn't care about all of the generic superhero crap, and I agree with her about Chip Damage being corny as fuck, and him revealing to be a robot explains a lot actually. Despite coming off as cynical and lazy, she's shown to be more mature than both KO and Rad combined, like in that one episode where the 90s wannabe douches were causing trouble in the store. Enid had to call them out for their bullshit.
Being cool is about being real. So who are you really? Who are you without all the layers of trends and the cool persona you're trying to be? Who are all of you when you're not being self-destructive party jerks?
And as a result, caused them to reflect on their behavior and went on to succeed in life. Although my only complaint for that episode is that they should have played some Limp Bizkit to truly capture the 90s vibe they were trying to mimic. If only we could fly. To add to Enid's mature side, she's also a great big sister figure to KO, and it makes sense considering she has 2 younger siblings of her own. And KO's the only person who can make her smile.
Have a nice day. Nice.
And at least tries to understand her.
Not everyone's gonna get me like you.
Although sometimes she would tease KO for looking up to all the generic superhero crap, like any older sibling would do. And with that being said, What was it Dendy said about her?
Is it how Enid acts super cool because she's internally struggling with her identity?
Oh, that's right. The reason why I like her the most is that she literally represents everything most of us Gen Zers are feeling. Lost.
I'm a witch who wants to be a ninja who maybe wants to be a hero but works at a convenience store. I don't have anything figured out.
And being insecure about our cringy past, just like how I'm ashamed of my mediocre teenage past and spent so many hours playing FPS games. I wish I'd quit CSGO and Rainbow Six Siege much sooner, but I don't regret spending thousands of hours playing Team Fortress 2 though. So it's no wonder I relate to Enid a lot, way more than KO and Rad. One time during her first day of the job, she used to be a people pleaser, forcing herself to be nice to all the shitty customers, something I would relate to, until she learns the very important lesson from Mr. Gar.
We're all out of wheel polish! Sorry we can't help you! Thank you for shopping at Gar's!
I wish this were an actual policy in real life, and thus the skateboard nerd was never seen again. According to this Tumblr post, he is actually dead, which, no joke, this might actually be Enid's first kill count. Oh well, that guy sucks anyways, and that's not even close to TKO's kill streak. Throughout the show, you've seen Enid wanting to be a ninja, but she was afraid of coming out to her parents. After all, she was raised in a spooky household, with her mom being a really hot vampire MILF, and her dad literally looks like a fucking Giga Chad. Her parents didn't understand her wanting to be a ninja because apparently ninjas aren't spooky, even though spooky ninjas do in fact exist. But Enid proved them wrong when she showed what being a real ninja is all about. And when she showed her ninja skills to her old school friends, it turns out they were always accepting of her, and it helped her become more open about herself. You would think that the Ghoul School crossover episode was for the sake of crossovers, but it was actually important for Enid's character growth. Although at the series finale, it was shown that Enid decided to go to witch college, and I do wish this had been explored more, but at least she was able to combine her witch and ninja powers together, so I see this as a win for her. There's also her relationship with both LED and Red Action, but I'm saving that for later. Now that I've talked about the main heroes of the show, what about the villains of the show? Because this wouldn't be a hero's journey without a villain standing in their way. Now, the only villains I think are important to talk about are Lord Boxman, his robot children, his soon-to-be husband, and I guess the rat creature as well.
We're rats. We're the rats.
Across the plaza, you'll see an evil robot factory that sells robots to other villains, all run by Lord Boxman. And you may wonder how he got his chicken arm. He usually attacks the plaza whenever he wants by sending his robot minions simply because he just has a hate boner for the plaza and would rather drag his company to the ground just so he could see the plaza destroyed.
Who cares about the profits?
Which explains why all the other supervillains don't respect him.
You know he's just a joke villain. He builds little toy robots.
Interesting how they're all about money and business, since most of the villains' screen time is just Boxman being the pettiest motherfucker.
I hate you kids! I hate this bodega!
Alongside Professor Venomous. But at the very least, he doesn't want to destroy the world.
So, why would we want to do that? We do live on the world.
Who cares?
I find it amusing how Boxman always fails to destroy the plaza when it was shown that he is capable of creating a giant robot that only a level 100 hero can handle. Although I imagine it probably takes a lot of money and resources to create more of these, and it only took everyone in the plaza to defeat one. Also, it was shown that it took a lot to create
What are you doing? You know what? He's on. Tell you what I know! Stop it! What's No! Not my darling!
who can destroy most of the plaza, but still fails anyways. But that still leaves me wondering, what would happen if KO, Rad, and Enid are not around when Boxman attacks the plaza? Sure, hiring other heroes could work, but seriously, what if there's literally no one to defend the plaza? I guess I'll leave that to your interpretation. Funny enough, right before the plaza was built, the sole reason the factory was built was to take down Point. But then of course, the plaza came along, and then the rest is history.
You need not pay attention. More heroes means more villains who need evil robots and more profit for us.
This is the one piece of dialogue that makes the world of OK KO so interesting to me. Boxman's many failures in destroying the plaza made him short-sighted in how he treats his robot children, despite them being very obedient and trying to win his approval. And it clearly shows that he has a favoritism for whoever causes the most destruction in the plaza. This would eventually result in one of them revolting by snitching on him by getting him fired into the sun.
Hi, Daddy, I love you!
And then the son spat him out, because cartoon logic, I guess. But after learning what's it like to be in their shoes, and having KO, Rad, and Enid help him realize what went wrong, he decided to treat his robot children better with respect.
I'm the one who failed Boxmore. We never even met the board standards once when I was in charge. But here you are, just a few months on the job, and you're doing better than I ever did. But I don't care that you betrayed me. If anything, it showed me just how evil you truly are. I'm proud of you, Daryl.
And leave Boxmore for good. And then he decided to crash into Professor Venomous's house, and then team up with him to take back Boxmore.
Whoopsie!
I'll talk about him later on. Boxman's robot minions were created with the sole purpose of destroying the plaza, and they show up in many different ways. Although their human version of themselves looks so ridiculously funny to look at. First we have Daryl, the most commonly used robot for all the minion work and attacking the plaza. Even though Cowboy Daryl is far more superior than him, throughout the show, he's shown to be very obedient, childish, and desperate to fight for his dad's approval to prove his worth. But when he's Cowboy Daryl, he's actually competent than his regular self, who managed to oust his dad from the company just to show him how evil he can be.
Isn't that just the most evilest thing? Betraying my own father? Aren't you proud of me?
And despite Boxman admitting his faults in Season 2, deep down he still wants to make his dad proud. Such a shame we didn't get much of Cowboy Daryl, but at least we got a funny looking version of him. Shannon is the spoiled bitch of a robot, who you'll often see trying to be the center of attention. And despite her sometimes caring about Daryl, the two would often have a sibling rivalry, like any other siblings would do. That's pretty much it. She's just a sassy bitch. Also, she dated Rad at one point, and Raymond is the pretty boy jock who thinks he's better looking than everyone else, and is probably only look maxing just to one-up Rad. There was actually supposed to be a rivalry arc between the two, but unfortunately that was cut short. As for the rest of the bots, Ernesto is just balding and should have just kept on rolling. Jethro is Jethro, and Michaela is cool, I guess. Although, that one episode where they acted like they're in a reality show was actually the funniest shit.
Well, who won?
We should put them in Total Drama Island, or Disventure Camp or something. Since they're all basically Boxman's children, it makes sense that they would all act like children, fighting for his approval. I love how despite being aware that they're created to destroy the plaza, they never had an existential crisis. Until they kinda did at the near end of Season 3, when Boxman had to set them free after TKO destroyed the plaza and most of the world. They realized that they didn't have a purpose in life until Dendy encouraged them that they were more than just robots of destruction. They could be heroes by protecting the plaza, and alongside Boxman, who found inner peace off screen because the show was cut short, and worked together to try and stop TKO. They literally got killed alongside the sun. And then they went back to destroying the plaza, from the looks of it. But KO did wish for everyone, including the villains, to live their best lives. So at least they're living a happy life. The two gay dads got married, and Boxman became a lot nicer to Mr. Logic, showing that he still changed as a character. When Professor Venomous made his debut, he wasn't too fond of Boxman at first, until he saw his dedication to destroying the plaza, that he realized he's exactly what every villain should be. Petty as fuck. You can tell the show is truly progressing the moment he and Boxman team up and have Fink and the robot children learn to cooperate, especially adding special features to the robots. You know, since Boxman accidentally destroyed his house once, I honestly thought his house would be rebuilt by the next episode, because cartoon logic, but I guess it makes sense that it didn't, since PV had officially moved in with Boxman. He's already like one of the richest villains in the world, and he could literally destroy any government officials if he wanted to.
Did I not mention that I have my Doomsday device fully charged and locked onto your coordinates?
But chose to help Boxman attack the plaza instead, because petty villainy is more thrilling than sitting in his ass answering business calls. But his methods of villainy are more cruel than Boxman's, like when he psychologically tortured KO into thinking his friends died, which made KO develop a hatred towards him.
You know, Mommy says hating others is wrong, but I think I hate Professor Venomous.
It was later revealed that he is actually KO's biological dad, and shadowy figure is his alter ego. And he used to be a hero called Laser Blast, who was killed during a mission with Mr. Gar and KO's mom, but actually faked his death. Which is not very surprising, considering they all have the same voice actor.
Shit!
Even I kinda already figured this shit out during my 8th grade English test. Apparently he didn't know KO was his biological son until after his debut. Oh, they made it purposely obvious?
We wanted to write a show where the audience said, I knew it all along, instead of saying, how'd that happen? That came out of nowhere.
Yes.
We wanted the first thing, you know? And
Lay the foundation.
Exactly. That made us like really excited.
I see now. But still, it's just very sudden because there was no build up towards that.
So, who's my dad? Laser Blast.
And the episode was originally supposed to be 22 minutes long, so that whole reveal came out of nowhere. But there is a reason behind this.
If we had more time, it would have been nice to go a little more into it. I feel like the problem with the 3rd season is that because we had to take a lot of episodes out, some of the like character stuff just like happens too fast. You don't get to enjoy the characters switching, finding out all this stuff about Laser Blast and Venomous and Shadowy. It was all supposed to happen that way, but there was just supposed to be like more time in between so we could have like more fun with it. And I feel like because we had to cut a lot of episodes, it just goes too fast. We tried our best. We were working with very difficult circumstances.
I was gonna talk about this in detail, but essentially season 3 was supposed to have 40 episodes so that the crew would have more time to build up the reveal. But unfortunately the season was cut in half, so the crew had to figure out a way to make it work.
You're doing this now? I thought we were gonna draw it out more, tormented for at least another season.
Alright, to make PV's backstory brief, basically he was unsatisfied with the power he had and tried experimenting with ways to become more powerful, but only ended up losing them in the process.
My powers, they're gone.
And after hearing his girlfriend saying he wasn't powerful enough to survive this, he went into hiding to try and regain his powers, only to fail and became Professor Venomous, while unknowingly creating shadowy figure. During the big reveal, we saw how KO's mom reacted to her ex being alive, which is understandable to focus on how she feels. But what's most infuriating about the whole reveal coming out of nowhere is that if the season hadn't been rushed like this, then we would have seen how all the other characters who had known PV when he was Laser Blast reacted to him being alive.
His dad?
Mainly Mr. Gar, since throughout the 1st season, he literally couldn't speak a sentence to KO's mom because of that incident. And we never really saw him and PV ever directly speaking to each other. To further prove why this was so infuriating, there's this character named Rippy Roo who studied quantum physics in an attempt to find a way to bring him back, and felt all that effort was for nothing. There's another character named Foxtail, the leader of Point, who held a grudge against Mr. Gar for that incident, who has expanded Point into a ruthless military organization.
Point is the
biggest group of superheroes around. Their weapons, their defense, their everything. It's better than anything that we villains have to offer.
So that she and every other hero won't ever become weak.
We could even use them against our foes.
Absolutely not! I wouldn't wish this fate on our worst enemies. Meet the Disempower Ray. One zap, and you lose every ounce of your power.
And then there's Dr. Greyman, who had psychic powers, remained powerless, and grew a fake beard. So I guess the only thing we can work with is our imagination.
Told you we should have drawn out the reveal.
Anyways, back to PV. Knowing that KO fears becoming evil, when he found out his biological father is a villain, it made him doubt himself as a hero. But he figured that spending time with him would help him better understand TKO's existence. Funny enough about this, there was supposed to be a custody arc about it, but that never came to fruition.
We were hoping to spend like a whole season doing custody stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of them wouldn't have been story driven. It would have just been like funny situations of what happens here. And so we had to focus on just the story driven ones.
You can see KO having a hard time connecting with his dad for obvious reasons. And as soon as TKO overtakes KO, that's when shadowy figure who had already overtaken PV truly wanted to spend time with him because he wants to use him for his powers. So he never really cared for both KO and TKO. Also, for some reason, even after everything that had happened, there are some people who are still thirsting over him. Like, listen, I get it. You want to fuck the hot dilf. Just like how I want to fuck the hot milf and the hot tilf. But do I need to remind you of all the unpaid child support? Not to mention, he had psychologically tormented KO, emotionally hurt KO's mom, and he's more of a father to Fink than to KO, only to neglect her later on. World's best dad, everyone. In the end, it doesn't seem like KO and PV will ever reconcile, which I guess is probably for the best. And yet PV seems to treat Fink way better than before, and has reconciled with Boxman, so now the two are officially a gay couple. Very unfortunate we never got to see their wedding. I can already imagine the awkward tension between KO and his archenemies. Oh, that's right, I forgot about the rat creature.
I'm the giant rat that makes all of the rules.
Fink is Professor Venomous's minion, adopted daughter, who usually accompanies him around and makes sure no one lays a hand on him because she's deeply attached to him. She's also a pro gamer, who would 100% talk some shit online.
Oh, fucking righteous fucking...
Which makes sense since in the future, she became an esports champion and the biggest Twitch streamer. Since Fink is a villain, she is no stranger to causing chaos and destruction. And I imagine the interaction between these two would be fucking diabolical. But alas, we didn't get a lot of episodes about her. Like, there was supposed to be an episode where Fink gets enrolled in KO's school, but that never happened. We never see her interact with Dendy, since they're both the same age, and it would have been cool to see her origin story and how she got adopted by Professor Venomous. We literally don't see much character dynamic between KO and Fink, since they both have the same dads, and Fink has mocked KO for being a mama's boy, which I think it's just her projecting her insecurity because of shadowy figure overtaking Professor Venomous, which is why videos game are her #1 favorite toy.
That was my first favorite toy.
I would literally kill to see her getting more spotlight. Anyways, I still suck at writing transitions, so I'm just gonna talk more about aspects I love about OK KO. You may notice that throughout the entire show, POW cards are a common thing in this world. They exist to show you your stats, but also function to be collectibles, like the Pokemon trading cards. Yeah, I know most of you are thinking of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which, I'm sorry, I never grew up on it. I only know Pokemon, okay? Anyways, just about anyone can get a POW card of their own. And obviously, leveling up a POW card is akin to leveling up in a video game. But have you ever noticed that throughout the entire show, we've only seen heroes and villains who are around level 0 to 15. There are only 2 people in the entire show who are at level 90. I mean, it makes sense that level 100s are rare in this world, but listen, I've played a lot of Pokemon to know that the level 1 to 15s are usually not the strongest, so it begs the question of how truly powerful anyone past to level 15 is. Like, how powerful would a level 9 hero be? Or 25? Or 69? Or 100? Or infinity? or 6, 7. We have characters like the President of the Universe and the Corn Shepherd, who are probably around level infinity, since they're like the gods of this world. But when I see characters like the Cool Sun, why the fuck is he at level 2? I thought he'd be somewhere higher than that, because he's literally the fucking sun. Also, take a look at these two villains. One of them can eat a fucking planet, so she should objectively be more powerful than Boxman. So, how does the leveling / power system work exactly?
None of the power card levels made any sense to begin with.
Ah, I see. Well, in that case, I'm convinced that these power cards don't measure power levels, but instead measure reputation, because it seems like the only way to level up is by doing a certain action that is deemed heroic or villainous. How else do you think KO was able to level up? We've seen KO defeat so many robots on a daily basis, but gains so little apparently. And assuming that all the villains can reach negative levels, I like to think that this implies that it is in fact possible to decrease your level, like that one Roblox game. But if the heroes did something bad, then why haven't their levels decreased yet? Do they have to perform a specific action to make that happen, or does the general public have to witness them doing so?
Is Chip Damage like a hero or a villain?
And lastly, these 3 POW cards are the same person, and these 2 POW cards are the same person. I'm assuming that this statement from the wiki would be the case because if a hero or villain were to get a new POW card, would the machine recognize them as a new person? Because that seems to be the case for the both of them. Or maybe there's an option to manually reset your POW card and level to 0. I don't fucking know. And how exactly does a limited edition POW card work? I'm gonna stop here because it's really hurting my brain thinking about it too much. But yeah, it just sucks that the show got canned too soon, because if the show had more seasons, then this would have been a great opportunity for the crew to explore everything I've just explained. Like, the whole POW card power leveling system is actually an interesting concept. I just wish it was clearer from the start. It would have been cool to see what would happen if there was a supervillain who's tired of being a villain, wanted to be a hero instead, just to see what would happen to their POW card. I'm also surprised that there hasn't been any real-life POW cards, even after the show ended. Just think of the potential market for these cards, like the Pokemon cards. Not like this. We Bare Bears ended in 2020, and to this day, Minisodes still sells their merch. I would know this because I recently visited my family in Southeast Asia and saw that Minisodes still sells We Bare Bears merch. I even briefly talked about it in my We Bare Bears video. I feel like I should at least talk about the music for OK KO, all composed by Mint Potion. OK KO has some great soundtracks that complement the show so well. Here's this upbeat soundtrack that made me want to smile more. Here's this cool action soundtrack that makes the fight scenes exciting. The music for the Sonic episode fucking slaps. And then here's the deep, dramatic, sad music that's strangely emotional. I would list more of them, but I would rather have you guys listen to them for yourselves. It's also worth noting that one of the founders of Mint Potion has made music for Shovel Knight. Thought it'd be worth mentioning that. And also, somebody needs to make a full album of the Cactus Crew. This shit fucking slaps.
A bloom, cactus bloom in the plaza.
Which, speaking of which, you guys know I have to talk about the new metal episode, because I don't see a lot of people talking about it. Like, it's literally Jonathan Davis voicing a cartoon character. In this episode, KO called Jonathan Davis's character Succulentus to come to the plaza and fight his mother, as an attempt to give her the best Mother's Day gift. I still want someone to make a full album of the Cactus Crew, as the two are fighting each other. The dialogue he says are literally a reference to his own songs.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
System of a Down.
Why'd you come to the plaza to fight me?
You wanted to. You wanted to.
Other new metal songs.
It's been a while. It's been a while. A coffee would really wake me up inside about now.
Wake me up inside.
Now you've woken up the demon in me.
Now you've woken up the demon in me.
and even Linkin Park as well.
Every step that I take is another mistake for you. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. Stop confusing what is real.
Thank you, OK KO, for reinforcing my taste in music. Although I'm kinda disappointed that they didn't reference other songs from Slipknot. Maybe him being eyeless could be a reference to this song. Deftones, or even Limp Bizkit, since Limp Bizkit was literally one of the most well-known bands in all of nu metal. Even Fred Durst has appeared in I Saw the TV Glow, and nu metal had a bit of a resurgence. Powerman 5000 made one song for Shadow the Hedgehog.
Sadly, you're as useful to me now as a backstage pass to Limp Bizkit.
So yeah, I actually enjoy listening to a lot of nu metal. Funny enough, I came up with a cool idea of a personal headcanon of mine. Since Succulent is like a grandpa, I like to imagine his son being fucking Fred Durst. I mean, it just kinda makes sense, right? Who else would be their grandson's dad? You know, now that I think about it, both Dragon Ball and Naruto have AMVs with Linkin Park songs in them, from which I learned from this video. Why have I not seen an AMV of OK KO with a Linkin Park song? Because that would have made 100% sense since the show has Dragon Ball and Naruto influences. Someone out there watching this needs to make one like right now. Please, I would pay good money to see it happen. I should also mention that this episode aired 1 month after Chester Bennington committed suicide. I doubt that the crew even knew that this would happen, considering it takes 9 months to make an episode, but I like to think of this episode as a tribute to him. Rest in peace, Chester Bennington. You were actually one of the greatest singers of all time. Alright, back to talking about the characters. Since I've already stated that Dendy is my favorite character, she deserves a section of her own. This is Dendy. She is a young, brilliant Kappa who, whenever KO or anyone else is in need of solving problems, Dendy is here to help. Nitori's Kappa's theme would be the perfect battle theme for Dendy. Or maybe this one will do. She is also an expert programmer who can hack anything with her trusty hack pack, like altering an appearance, modifying any POW card, and jump really high. Actually, that's just her natural superpower. If you think about it, Dendy is objectively a lot smarter than Chio-chan. Yeah, I said that. You got a problem with that? Funny thing about this episode is that it was actually made to inspire kids to pursue coding, since coding can be very useful in today's world. Take it from me, who has experience in coding, both in high school and currently in college, studying game design. Here's this fun project I made for my game design class. Anyways, ever since KO became her first ever friend, her life would change to the point she would help KO and his friends on hero missions, and also stop treating KO like a science experiment, all in the name of science, like the nu metal album. Also, her secret lab kinda reminds me of Also, for some reason, she's really interested in studying Rad, and to this day, we still don't know why she's studying him for.
What were you doing in my van?
Great character dynamic though. As much as I like the sibling dynamic between KO, Rad, and Enid, I personally like the friendship between KO and Dendy more, mainly because it's refreshing to see episodes where KO does stuff other than just working at his job, like hanging out with Dendy. Because again, you rarely see KO hanging out with other kids his age, and Dendy is the only kid who understands his desire to become a hero, even helping him understand TKO. Both Dendy and KO KO are literally made to be best friends, since they're expert PAL card collectors. A great example of the two being great friends was when, despite the fact Dendy and the rest of her species were restricted from obtaining their own PAL cards, KO still recognizes her as a genuine friend, and his belief that anyone can be a hero led to him and Dendy on a journey to confront the CEO of the PAL card company about her situation.
And you're asking we include them for what exactly? Drowning people? Honestly, I've never seen a Kappa do anything of significance, heroic or otherwise. They're just little monsters.
What he said about Kappas being monsters literally makes no sense, because by his logic, all the supervillains in the world would not have their own PAL cards.
Do you even know any Kappas, Mr. Cardsley?
I wonder if anyone has caught on to the fact that despite the false rumors about the Kappas, there has not been a single Kappa card with a negative level prior to that episode. Anyways, he did eventually let Dendy give all the Kappas their own PAL cards, hoping to disappoint her.
Oh, sorry kids. Like I said, Kappa.
Only for Dendy to prove him wrong when all the money started pouring in, making him the richest man in the world. Because of Dendy's efforts, she has been officially recognized as a hero for giving all the Kappas an opportunity to be one as well. And in the series finale, Dendy did work her way to become the CEO of the PAL card company, which this is literally the best ending she could ever get. And also in that same episode, the guy literally went straight to hell. Which is not that surprising in my opinion, because listen very closely to what he said after the Kappas made him so fucking rich.
You've really taught me something here today. I thank you. And from now on, PAL cards will recognize the heroic feats of Kappas across the globe. Grandfather would be proud. Of how much money we're making!
So yeah, he never actually apologized for discriminating against the Kappas, and only agreed to give Kappas their own PAL cards because of money. This is like that one tweet Alex Hirsch made about Disney. I'll never forgive Disney for how they treated the Owl House. And now moving on to the adult figures in the show. KO's mom and Mr. Gar. Before KO got the job, Carol would usually bring him along to her dojo, and whenever she does, all the ladies couldn't help but awe at how cute he is. I don't really have much to say about her, other than her being a great mom. After all, she was the reason KO got the job at Gar's bodega.
What about a recommendation from me? Come on, Gar, just give him the job.
Okay, fine.
She makes sure to give KO all the delicious meals and treats for being such a good kid, and since she was a famous hero herself, she also uses her past experience to set KO on a greater path.
Mom! Sorry, honey. Just building your character.
Even though there are barely any episodes where KO actively trains with her, only words of wisdom every once in a while, and seeing how adorable KO is, it makes me wonder what the fuck Carol has been feeding him with, especially seeing how KO doesn't feel any pain while being shoeless. Whatever she's feeding him, I want some of that shit too. And then there's Mr. Gar, one of the most powerful heroes who everyone admires so much, and he can literally jump out of the sky and obliterate anyone. God damn it. Why is it always those muscular guys skipping leg day? Even this robot has better legs than he does. Mr. Gar doesn't just own the store, he also owns the entire plaza, since he literally built it all from scratch. And it can somehow turn into a giant epic robot. He also monitors the entire plaza to make sure there's no trouble anywhere.
Keep off the dang grass!
Which I'm beginning to think he's just paranoid. Perhaps all that stress is why Dendy said this.
Mr. Gar here is overcompensating for his receding hairline with muscles.
Especially when it comes to stopping the evil robots from destroying his plaza. Unless they're entering a competition or a film festival. And best of all, he always gives great advice to ensure his employees don't make the same mistakes he did.
The customer isn't always right, and you have the strength to say so. A true hero needs to be brave enough to look at someone head on before rolling their eyes at them.
He may act tough all he wants, but deep down, he has a soft spot for Carol. Well, at least in the first season. You already know why Mr. Gar was afraid to speak to her, so let's just get to the point. There are a couple of episodes that takes place in the past where he and KO's mom used to be members of Point. He used to be timid and a nervous wreck, but they were generally a great team. Until I guess at this point, I might as well call it the sandwich incident, as the wiki says, which, fun fact, is actually a reference to that one scene from Cowboy Bebop. Mr. Gar was trying to confess his feelings towards Carol by using the sandwich analogy in the worst possible way.
We can be the sandwich! Just wait!
Get out of the way!
No, listen to me. I'm the tomato and you're whatever part of the sandwich you want to be. Smoked ham?
And when they thought Laser Blast died, he felt like it was all his fault, that they couldn't save him.
Why did you stop me?
Huh? No, I didn't mean to.
If you hadn't, I could have...
Silver, I didn't know how to... I only wanted to talk. I didn't intend to...
This is all your fault.
Well, we all know he's not actually dead, so you already know how infuriating it was that we never saw his reaction to him being alive. When he got kicked out of Point, he was wandering aimlessly around, searching for a new purpose in life, until he helped some people with small needs, that he realized he enjoys helping people again.
In that one moment, the guilt that had been weighing me down felt a little bit lighter. I realized I wanted to help people again.
And then he met the president of the universe, who noticed his heroic deeds and decided to give him his land and an important task of protecting the Glorb tree under it, to which he decided to build a plaza over it, and also assigned him to secret missions from time to time, which probably explains why he's mostly absent for most episodes involving our main trio. I should also mention that in the second last episode of the show, the reason the president of the universe created these Glorbs is to make life as fun as possible, which I'm curious to know what his definition of fun is, but I guess at the same time, the show itself wouldn't be interesting to watch without them. Anyways, Mr. Gar did eventually muster up the courage to speak to Carol, to which she forgave him for what happened to Laser Blast.
It was all an accident, Eugene. And really, if you hadn't stopped me, then we both might have been shrunk or teleported or whatever. It's not your fault.
And now the two have a healthy relationship together. Seeing Mr. Gar trying to bond with KO like father and son was pretty wholesome to watch, since he's just not used to being a parental figure to him. And with that being said, I still have yet to see his reaction to Laser Blast being alive. So far we've talked about the main characters, the villains, and the supporting characters of the show, but I haven't even talked about the background characters yet. This is probably one of the only few shows that somehow manages to make the background characters memorable, alongside the amazing world of Gumball. Ian JQ thought it was a cool, creative idea to have each individual character in the background.
I wanted to make a show where every background character was a character, and you could like look at that character and be like, oh, I like that character, and like I'm gonna draw fan art of that character, and that's my favorite character.
It makes you wonder what their lives are like off screen. Like, we have this character, Droop, who was originally a teen bully, to eventually becoming a great fashion designer, Beardo, a great chef whom we got an episode with KO, going on a fun adventure, and he's also a JoJo character. There's also Hollow Jane, who is the only character who knows she's in a TV show and caused KO to have an existential crisis, but everything works out in the end. And Carla? Honestly, who doesn't love Carla? There are way more background characters in OK KO, although it makes you wonder why some of them rarely intervene to help KO Red and Enid defend the plaza whenever the robots attack. I mean, they did a couple of times, but it's mostly just the main trio defending the plaza, and it was shown that most of these background characters are literally capable of fighting. My best guess is that maybe Mr. Gar doesn't want there to be heavy casualties, and it's probably bad for business if a lot of people get hurt in the process. And also they don't work under Mr. Gar's mentorship, so maybe that's why he usually leaves it up to KO Red and Enid to defend the plaza. But whenever that happens, you'll usually see Real Magic Skeleton and Brandon recording the battle, which, speaking of which, They actually got their own episode. This episode shows us a fun dynamic between the two, RMS being a responsible one, and Brandon being a chill, but also a goofy, lazy bastard who likes being complacent in life. Guys, he's literally fucking me. It is stated that he can fight, it's just that he's too lazy to do that, which is honestly very fitting for his character. I know I said that Enid represents everything most of us Gen Zers are, but so does RMS and Brandon, being in their early 20s, working in a dead-end job. It's such a shame we never got to see what RMS's college is like. You know, I just realized that his voice would be perfect for Papyrus.
This could be just what I need to get out of this funk.
And I just want to say that Brandon is like one of the silliest characters. Like, his shirt literally changes in each frame depending on a certain moment. As for the other characters, I'm obviously not going to talk about literally all of them, so I'm just gonna talk about the ones I find interesting. We have one episode centering around Dynamite Watkins, an action news reporter who prides herself on being a great journalist. As long as people are watching, she literally has the power to force people to tell the truth.
Shannon has human feet!
Oh, you rat!
Therefore, she's unironically a way better journalist than everyone else. Mr. Logic was once a robot working for Lord Boxman, until he saw Mr. Gar building the plaza, where he learned that there is always a purpose in creating, to provide for others.
You created this hairstyle for me, and I love it. Makes me feel good. How does that make you feel?
Good.
So he portrayed Boxman and is now a hairstylist in the plaza. Crazy to think that he was the reason why the robot factory was created in the first place, and also the reason Boxman was dead set on destroying the plaza.
Then your solution would be to destroy it.
I love that logic.
Can I just say that Crinkly Wrinkly is like the best gag character in the entire show? This guy is like literally everywhere.
I'm everywhere!
Has the ability to turn people into animals, and according to this Tumblr post, he is 500 years of age, which makes you wonder if Crinkly Wrinkly is hiding the fact he's actually the most OP character in the world, who can probably defeat anyone with godlike powers. He may be level 8, but shadowy figure can trick anyone into believing he's a hero, so that could be a possibility, right? Also, he appeared in the Sonic comics. And now, two more interesting characters I want to talk about regarding their relationship with Enid. Elodie and Red Action. Upon first meeting in middle school, Elodie was impressed by Enid's ninja skills, and the two decided to become best friends forever, until they stumbled upon this tournament to enroll in Point Prep Academy, similar to that of UA High or Little Witch Academia. Since they both dreamed of attending there, they agreed to compete together until they had to fight each other, and that is when Elodie decided to betray Enid.
We were never friends, Enid. I just pretended so I could learn your moves and counter them. No. No. You're lying!
This would devastate Enid to the point that she would become the cynical person we know, and that would also be the decision Elodie would later regret, because deep down, she still cares about her, and the desire for popularity was just a facade to hide her insecurities. This is like that relationship between Stella and Gale, and I even made a video talking about it, but luckily Enid's childhood dream did eventually came true, in the form of a 5-episode arc, where she and Elodie finally rekindled their friendship.
I thought that winning would be worth turning my back on you, but ever since then, I've regretted it so much. It's hard to admit, but I was wrong. I never should have abandoned my best friend.
And thus their friendship remains throughout the rest of the show.
See you around, you pompous jerk.
Likewise, you tacky buffoon.
And Elodie became the new leader of Point, and is now helping our main heroes. But since there was only one episode where Elodie showed signs of regret before the 5-episode arc, I would have loved for it to draw it out a little more, and also see her getting more spotlight. And finally, Red Action, who I find so interesting that we have 3 episodes dedicated to her. Red Action is the cool cyborg lesbian who is also part of the Hue Troop from the future. She traveled to the past just to hang out in the plaza, and looking at her missing leg, you have to wonder what sort of badass adventures she went through in the future. Well, it turns out she's actually disabled. Still a badass though. She initially started out as a bully because of a bad haircut, but later grew past that now that KO helped resolve her problem, and she would later regret bullying KO, just enough to go back in time and stop her past self from doing so, and also so that Rad wouldn't hold a grudge against her for that.
she tricked KO into playing in lava, then put it on social media for people to make fun of. And everyone pretends like it never happened.
So now she treats KO with respect. And this is where I'm finally going to talk about the relationship between Red Action and Enid. Throughout the show, you can see the two slowly developing a relationship together. It was during her first adventure with Enid that she admits that she admires her natural coolness, and that the real reason she time traveled to the past was because of a mistake she made and ran from her responsibilities as a Hue Troop. She would later reconcile with them, and this whole adventure would further strengthen their relationship between her and Enid. That's only in the first episode dedicated to her. The second one shows Enid mustering up the courage to tell Red Action how she truly feels about her. And it wasn't until the final season that the two would eventually get together and even run a dojo together in the final episode. Crazy to believe that the only reason the crew was able to easily establish this cute relationship between the two was because of the Steven Universe wedding episode.
We did our first episode about Enid and Red Action's relationship. These are two of the characters, and they were two girls. Red Action is a lesbian and Enid is bisexual. We wanted to do an episode about their first date, and the network gave us hell about this thing. They fought us every single step of the way, every single line, every single drawing, every single blush, every single look, anytime they touched each other, anytime anything happened. Then we came back to do a second Red Action and Enid episode, and we did it, we wrote it, we pitched it, and it flew through like nothing. Easy. They didn't even care.
And so with that, I really wish we could see both Elodie and Red Action interact with each other, and this cool spin-off would have been really interesting to see. You already know where this is going. The episode after fighting to the end would actually be the final episode, and it would encapsulate everything I was feeling. It starts like your average OK KO episode. KO just missed an exciting adventure with Rad and Enid, but all in all, everything seems to be alright. Until he misses another exciting adventure as the world around him starts to move fast. At first, KO thought it was a villain who was behind all of this, so he had to punch through everything as time quickly flew by. But not even fighting could solve this, as KO had to witness Enid leaving for witch college, Rad joining a space military, and everyone getting married all in a flash. Everything feels like it's becoming a distant memory.
It's not fair! We were supposed to go on more adventures!
And while KO was scared at first, and wishes he could go on more adventures like these, that's when he learns that the real truth is, that's just how life is.
Life wasn't rushing ahead because of some villain's evil plan. This is just how it feels to grow up. Time flashes by in the blink of an eye. Sometimes you're present for it, sometimes you're not. So it's important to remember what you have and enjoy it while it lasts. If I didn't stop worrying about missing things, I'd miss out on even more.
And so we get a glimpse of everyone we know fulfilling their best lives and getting a happy ending. KO growing up, and the story of OK KO ends with KO finally reaching level 100, with a new generation of heroes training under him, and thus the show ends with KO thanking everyone, and the credits roll for one last time. But it should already be obvious that the final season was rushed, since the crew was told that they had to cut it short.
We had just been greenlit for the third run, and then they told us, hey, you have to cut this season of 40 into a season of 20. And that's going to be your final season.
With little to no build up towards the whole plot twist, and some of the characters should have gotten more screen time. All these title cards in the final episode are basically the episodes we could have gotten. So, what exactly happened, and why? Well, I'd rather have Ian JQ explain it himself.
KO was sort of supposed to be like one of the first shows that wasn't relying on TV ratings as much as it was going to rely on views on like apps and stuff like that. And there was going to be this huge, like kind of over the top app for Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers and all of those properties, because AT&T who had just been trying to buy Warner Brothers, was going to basically use all their skills as a telecom to create like a all-in-one streaming service that was like all Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers, HBO, yada, yada, yada. That, as we know now, eventually came out. It was called HBO Max. Basically, that was supposed to happen years earlier, and KO was supposed to benefit from all of that as it went. But something happened in 2016. Donald Trump got elected as the merger of AT&T and Warner Brothers was about to go through. Donald Trump specifically hated Warner Brothers because they own CNN. So he wouldn't let that merger go through. And so basically what happened is the studio and all the Warner-owned studios basically got stuck in a holding pattern while they were waiting for this merger to go through. So there wasn't allowed to be any new spending or any new seasons or anything like that without having trade-offs for other things. So essentially, that deal didn't go through until like after they realized like, we're not going to be able to have this strategy work the way that they wanted. And so OK KO, unfortunately, was just like a little before its time. Like maybe if it had come out like a couple years later, it would have been a thing that was like streaming only or something like that, you know, and could have found its audience a little better. But it was just like a little too early. Plans didn't come together because of our former president. And like, I don't know, just kind of the whole thing got messed up.
And if that's not infuriating enough for you, then let me show you the episodes that never came to fruition. Exactly. And also, you can no longer legally watch it on Hulu, Disney Plus, and HBO Max anymore. Just like all the other shows that got removed from the site. How the fuck am I supposed to recommend my friends to some of my favorite shows? Now, I would go into more detail about this whole corporate merger thing, but I'm sure someone else could explain it much better than I could. But the thing about Season 3 being rushed like this is that I'm not mad that the crew tried their absolute hardest to work with what they have.
We talked to the network about it and we were like, hey, production on the Season 3 had just barely begun.
Yeah, we just started doing maybe like the first board.
Yeah, and so we saw, you know, what Ian would call a crisis-opportunity in this moment where we were like, we still have our writers and we still have quite a bit of time before most of these episodes are supposed to get handed out to the storyboard artists. So we said like, hey, you know, this being the situation that these 20 are all we have, we would like to keep the writers on and restructure the entire third season to be a final season from the jump.
Because originally 20 episodes into Season 3 was the big reveal.
Big reveal was the mid-season episode.
The mid-season. That was the mid-season finale.
Yeah, and the network agreed to this.
Yeah.
And they also were in a situation where the network basically was like, we understand this is not what you guys want, and so they also creatively were like, do what you need to do, basically. They were like, we understand this is not a good situation for you, and so whatever you need to do to reach a satisfying finale, do it.
And I also don't blame them for throwing out all of the fun, cool, one-off stories just for the main story to reach a satisfying conclusion.
The sad part is, you know, the stuff that we ended up having to throw away were more of the like sillier episodes that weren't as like story focused. And that's a shame because like those are the episodes I love doing.
No matter what you do with an ending, people are going to call it rushed, but we tried to make it as non-rushed as physically possible as far as the actual ramp up to KO's story.
While I appreciate the crew trying their absolute best to wrap up everything despite the circumstances, is it bad that it still left me wanting more? Don't get me wrong, the ending was still great, and I'm glad everyone got a happy ending, and I'm genuinely grateful for the 112 episodes we got. But there's still a lot of stuff I wish I could see. I know Ian JQ would probably encourage me to use my imagination, but like, I wish I could see some really interesting character interactions that have never been seen before, seeing underutilized locations being used more, and I want to know how KO truly feels about reaching level 100, like how Ash Ketchum was trying to figure out what's next in his life, now that he's become the Pokemon World Champion. I don't think I need to show more tweets about episodes that never got made. They already spoke for themselves. And I'm not sure if I'm the only person who thinks this, but every time I watch the finale, all it does is make me worry about the future. As I'm making this video, I'm going to be graduating from college next semester, and it's crazy to think that time flew by like it was nothing. Like, My Hero Academia just ended, SMG4, the channel I've been watching since 2016, literally just ended. I was literally there from the start when he and his brother created Glitch Productions, and I never imagined they would become this big of an indie studio. If you watch MetaRunner, then you have my utmost respect. And it feels like yesterday that I uploaded my Pixel Gun 3D video that got me from 800 subs to 10,000 in a span of 10 days. And yet I'm still trying to see if I can make YouTube my full-time job. This video you're watching right now was supposed to come out in September, but I procrastinated the shit out of this video, constantly trying to not fail college, finishing Pizza Tower, Half-Life 2, playing the entirety of the Half-Life 2 episodes, Black Mesa, Yakuza 0, and binge watching all of this Venture Camp out of curiosity. I even had to rewatch episodes of OK KO just so I could fully understand everything I wanted to say. But maybe I was just distracting myself from the inevitability that all the hard work I put in, both in college and in making YouTube videos, would have been wasted. At least that's how I feel at the moment. I don't know. It's just kinda hard for me to enjoy the present moment if I'm constantly worried about being a failure. Damn, I just realized I came off as the most insecure bitch imaginable. But still, KO is right. Time may fly by so goddamn quickly, but we have to at least try and enjoy these moments while they last. Even if it's so fucking scary to think about what the future holds. But even so, will there still be more OK KO in the future? Well, considering Adventure Time is still going, Regular Show and Steven Universe are coming back, and Gumball has already released new episodes, there might be a chance to bring back OK KO, just enough for the crew to tell all the cool stories that never came to fruition. The same goes for both We Bare Bears and Infinity Train. For We Bare Bears, I mentioned that I would love to see some of the side characters who never interacted with each other actually interact with each other for once. And also we want Icy Nights 3. For Infinity Train, it should already be obvious why. And for OK KO, since the show already ended, I think an approach similar to Regular Show's lost tapes and have it all take place before the finale would be ideal. And if there won't be any new episodes, then at least a movie is still a possibility. As Ian JQ would say, anything is possible. Before I end this video, I want to at least use this opportunity to talk about what some of the crew have been up to now that OK KO ended, since I'm still not great at writing thought-provoking conclusions like these. The most notable ones I know is executive producer Toby Jones, creator of AJ's Infinite Summer, went on to create AJ Goes to the Dog Park. Parker Simmons went on to create Mau Mau, which I've never watched it before, but from the looks of it, it generally seems like something I would enjoy watching. But then I remembered the show was erased from existence. What do you mean there's the Duolingo anime? Geneva Hodgson, co-creator of Tattletale, went on to create the Trick Moon pilot, which, funny enough, I think I remember being in my bedroom when COVID happened. I was 16 at the time, Trick Moon just came out, and I thought to myself,
hey, that's pretty good.
So I was stoked to see the pilot become an actual show. Hopefully. And I've recently learned that one of the writers of OK KO wrote Neon White, which I should probably play this game at some point. I wasn't sure where to put this, but I really loved the cute design of their self-insert OCs. See, this is one of the many things I love about OK KO. Alongside the characters I adore, the art style and animation, the comedic jokes, the cool references, the music, and the new metal episode. Do you understand why I want more of it? It's a silly cartoon that I never thought I would actually make an hour-long video about, since I've remembered thinking about it a lot in 8th grade. And I also know a lot of people absolutely adore OK KO, since it meant a lot to them. Even if OK KO won't come back anytime soon, we can at least appreciate the hard work put into the show, because to me, it may not be a masterpiece, but it was a genuine love letter to the pieces of media we love, and it's also a show that truly embraced being a cartoon. And I can still say that OK KO is one of my top 6 favorite Cartoon Network shows of all time. So with that being said, thanks for watching, follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky, and from the wise words of Dendy,
Don't